Hi, everyone. I'm Shaheen Samavati from the Content Mix, and I'm here with my colleague, Kyler Canastra.
Hi, everyone.
So many of you know me as the founder of this group, the Facebook group. If you're watching this in the Facebook group, we're also publishing on the page, but also as well as the co-founder of multilingual content agency Vera Content. Kyler and I have been working together at Vera since 2018, and we originally actually met at a Content Mix networking event in Madrid. And Kyler is now going to be joining the podcast as my co-host, and he'll also be an admin of the Facebook group. So we wanted to take this opportunity to introduce him to all of you in the community and share some plans we have in store.
Yes, and we're also celebrating an important milestone this week, as this week marks the 1-year anniversary of the Content Mix podcast, which we launched back in May 2020. And we also just published our 200th episode last week.
Yeah, so it's very exciting times. It's a big milestone. I'm going to ask Kyler a few questions, and then later he'll ask me a few things. But first, I just wanted to remind everyone that this is an interactive session. So it'd be great if you could let us know, first of all, in the comments where you're joining from today. It's always fun to know where everybody's at. So for those of you who are tuning in, only a couple people so far. I know people trickle into these live events. So
for sure.
But we'll be asking you things throughout the live. So we'd love it if you participate in the comments. So feel free, throughout the whole thing, to leave your comments and questions for me or Kyler in the comments on whatever platform you're using. And also, it'd be great if people could think about feedback you have for us about the group and the podcast, as we'll be asking you about that a bit later.
For sure.
So, but yeah, first of all, this is an exciting opportunity to get to meet Kyler. So I just wanted to start off by asking Kyler a few things about himself. I know a lot about Kyler already, but for your all benefit. So Kyler, could you just tell us a bit about yourself and your background?
Yeah, for sure. It's pretty crazy to think that we met at a Content Mix event back in 2018, and now here we are. Everything comes full circle, which is nice. But I'm originally from the United States. You probably can tell by my accent. I'm from Massachusetts. And so I kind of stumbled upon Spain, I guess, after I was studying a university degree in Spanish, and I studied abroad in the north of Spain. And that kind of led me to fall in love with the country and the language. And I knew I wanted to come back and live here. I never expected it to be 7 years now. It's since I came back to live here permanently. And like most, I guess, Americans or English speakers, I taught English in the beginning in the north of Spain. And then actually pursuing a master's degree in Spanish linguistics is what brought me to Madrid. And I completed my degree here back in, I think, 2017 it was. And at that point, I knew I wanted to stay in Spain, but didn't really know what to do with my career, which led me to the translation and it led me to Vera Content. So I guess I've been working here, I think, since May 2018. So it's going to be 3 years this month. And it's been a whole journey, I guess, working at Vera as a linguist initially, and then I was a project manager, and now I just started this new position helping with the Content Mix podcast, but also working as an account manager. So it's kind of been a fun journey to be on. And it's just kind of unexpected. I never thought I'd be here now, but it's great.
It's been great working with you over these 3 years and seeing you grow as a professional and working lots of different roles at Vera, like you mentioned.
Yeah, I wore many hats in my time. But it's been fun. I've learned so much, and I'm so grateful for the opportunity to be able to be involved in many different things. So,
awesome. So actually, I'm really curious, how did you... I actually don't know. How did you hear about the Content Mix in the first place? And what brought you to that first event?
Well, I think this is actually a really funny story. So after I did my master's, I was going to teach English at an English academy here in Madrid because I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. And I knew I wanted to stay, and that was a good way of getting a visa. But my visa actually got denied when I was in the States over Christmas. And one of my friends from my university, who also lives in Madrid, she went to a networking event with one of our colleagues, Melissa Hahn. And Melissa Hahn gave her a business card for Vera Content. And my friend was like, this would be a really cool company for you to look into, or at least to freelance. And then I kind of got exposed to what Vera Content was. And I started realizing that you guys were doing many different things, including the Content Mix. So I decided to go and to check it out. So it's kind of very random and unexpected, but it was definitely a blessing in disguise.
Yeah, and that was back in the day when we used to do in-person networking events,
Yes,
which hopefully we'll be able to resume sometime
I hope
soon.
so.
But in the meantime, we're doing virtual networking. We actually have one tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm really excited. Yeah, so we have it tomorrow at 5 p.m. And all the information's on our website and on Facebook for sure. But it's my first time hosting that event, so it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to it. And it's like, I mean, the idea of these online networking events is like to kind of still carry the spirit of the in-person event. So it's all about like meeting people and interacting. So we match people up one-on-one in like virtual little breakout rooms.
Right.
And I wanted to remind people, like those people who are just tuning in, we're curious to know where you're joining from. So it'd be great if you could tell us in the comments. And well, we see that Daphne and James, they're both like co-founders of Vera Content.
Our biggest fans.
Definitely. But so thanks for tuning in, guys. And Daphne, yeah, happens to be in the US right now, but is usually based in Madrid, and James is in Madrid.
It's in Madrid as well.
And Daphne just posted the details about tomorrow's networking event. So definitely check that out. So yeah, our offices at Vera Content are based in Madrid.
Yes.
And Kyler's in Madrid right now. I'm working remotely. Yeah, he's at the office. So you can see our office view there.
Yeah,
inside look. So yeah, we're there in the Arganzuela neighborhood. But I've been working remotely from Malaga since mid-pandemic. And Kyler actually is planning to move soon too.
Yeah, I'm planning a move to Lisbon. So I guess for a long time, I mean, I guess I can understand my decision, a lot of different factors in it, but I think a lot of it happened actually in lockdown when I was alone for like 2.5 months, and I had a lot of time to reflect and to think about what I wanted in life. And I love Madrid. I'm not leaving because I don't love it, but I've always wanted to live in Portugal. I grew up in a large Portuguese American community there. So it's always been of interest. I've always wanted to learn a language. So I've been studying Portuguese for like 4 years now. And I just kind of think there's no better time than now because a lot of us are working remotely. The possibility came up. And I don't know, I'm just really excited for a new change. Also, I grew up in this said community, but that's also a big fishing community. It's right on the ocean, and I really miss the ocean. And although Madrid has everything, the only thing it doesn't really have is the ocean, and I miss that. So I think it'll be a good way to reconnect with my culture and my heritage, but at the same time, try something new. So I'm kind of just gonna go for it and see what happens. So if anyone is listening, is in Portugal, let me know.
Awesome. Yeah, it'll be really cool. I mean, at Vera, we've been moving more towards like remote work. We have our office still in Madrid, and we do some gatherings there, and a lot of our team is still based there. But yeah, we've been more flexible about remote work, I guess, like a lot of companies. And,
it's been really great having that flexibility. I think really helps, and we're very fortunate that we can do it in our field. So I'm definitely excited to take it across the border and kind of start a new thing in Lisbon.
Yeah, awesome. And it'll be cool, obviously, since the content mix community is pan-European, to have another perspective to have
for sure, and meet new faces there as well.
Definitely. Maybe we'll have some in-person events there in Portugal.
Yeah, you never know if there's interest, for sure. I'd love to do that.
Yeah. Well, so let's see. So, I actually kind of I was going to ask you about the speed networking event. I already said a little bit about it, but anything else you have in store for the speed networking?
Yeah, so we're using this platform that used to be called Icebreaker, but now they had a rebranding and they're called Gather Round. And it's actually really fun. It's a really cool platform. There's like a stage that, the host of it can go up, but anyone can go on the stage and everyone kind of convenes there. And then we use different decks of cards that have different interview questions. So everyone gets broken up into groups of 2 or 3, depending on how many people there are. But then you have, the conversation, you have some questions to help get it going. And it's a good way to meet other people who work in the content marketing industry in Europe. So definitely a lot of fun. It should be no pressure at all. It should be a fun experience for everyone. And yeah, it's a great way to meet people, especially in a time that we can't really go to in-person events or we can't really move around. So you can just do it from the comfort of your home, which is really nice.
Yeah. Yeah. One thing when we were doing the in-person events, kind of like, I mean, sometimes we would do like little charlas, or that's in Spanish, but like little talks about different topics.
Yeah,
But we always like to make them really short and focus on the networking, because we know that like actually what people like really value is making connections and connecting with other
yeah,
people in the industry. So we wanted to bring the spirit of that to these online events as
for
well.
sure.
So it's all about
It's
meeting people.
it's fascinating. Like the amount of people the number of people we met this year on like LinkedIn or different kind of like it's just crazy to think that we're like having all these interactions with people all virtually, but it really does facilitate it. And at times like when we can't really move
Yeah.
around as easily.
Definitely. And I wanted to ask the audience, for those of you who have been to our events, either online or in person, just if you have any feedback, like what did you think? What could we do better? Yeah. And if you haven't been to an event, why not? And are you planning to come to a future one?
Definitely,
We'd love
yeah.
to have you. Yeah.
It'd be great. It's just sad to think, not sad, but you get nostalgic thinking about how the in-person events work. They were a lot of fun. And especially like, I think we're getting in a good rhythm with them before the pandemic, and we had guest speakers, and it was a really great opportunity to connect people, especially in Madrid. So hopefully one day we can get back to that. But for now, online works.
Yeah, definitely. And definitely our ambition is to start doing those events in other European cities as well. So that'll be exciting
Yeah.
when we get to that stage. So
I guess I can turn the tables and ask you some questions now. As you can see, we are, hosts of the podcast, so we're good at asking questions. But yeah, just to, if you guys have any questions for us, please feel free to leave them in the comments as well. And so, yeah, I wanted to know a bit more about how the Facebook group started. How did the content mix, this whole concept, come to life?
Yeah. Well, actually, it was quite a few years ago now when the group originally started, and it started out as I actually started this Facebook group before we started Vera Content as a company, and at the time, I was freelancing, and I was freelancing doing like content consulting kind of work, and I'm an American based in Spain, and I definitely like a lot of like leads that I would get about things or opportunities I'd find out about would be from like other English speakers. So I originally kind of created the group to like share opportunities and create this network, learn from other people who are doing the same thing as me, and sharing opportunities. And a lot of times, like if I couldn't take a job, I would post it in the group, and vice versa. Other people would share stuff that they came across. And yeah, it's been a huge, it's helped me a lot in my career, and I think, and is actually like part of what helped me build Vera Content as an agency in the first place. Not only like meeting people who ended up being clients, or people who shared a post that led to some opportunity that way, but also for people to collaborate with. Obviously, like as you know, we worked together and we met through the group. I think so many people who work at Vera I originally met through this group.
It's really nice to hear how it's like came from just you paying it forward of like, I want to share these opportunities just as people shared opportunities with me, and I kind of built this community at the same time. It's really great.
Absolutely.
And how, I guess, where does Vera Content fit into that story?
Yeah, so I have to remember like the timeline, but I think I wrote a blog post about this once. So go check out. It's like an early blog post on the Vera Content blog. I think it was like probably 2014 when I started the group, and then it was like 2016 when we started Vera Content. And actually, I mean, I was a really active. Facebook has always been like my favorite social media platform. So I've always been really active on Facebook. I actually met my business partners, James and Daphne, through Facebook because of their Facebook page and group for Naked Madrid. So yeah, the company started through informal collaboration that ended up leading to formalizing the company and growing to what we are now. We're a team of 14 people, and we expanded well beyond, when I started out, I was doing English content creation. Daphne and James were both doing more translation work, but really shared the same values in terms of like quality and wanting to do creative projects. So not just like straight up translation. So now what we do is a combination of content creation and creative translation for marketing purposes for the most part.
Right.
And yeah, we've grown the company over the past 5 years now. It's our 5-year anniversary recently. So another milestone.
And when you started the company, did you ever expect it to be what it is today? Have you been surprised along the way?
I mean, I mean, it's definitely like what I wanted. I didn't know that I would be able to achieve it. So I'm very happy with that.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think it's definitely exceeded my expectations in some way. And we've definitely like, I guess like gone in a, like developed more, like we're doing a lot more social media, for example, than I expected that we would in the beginning. Like we really started out like as, writers, and we've become experts in a lot of different aspects of marketing. So and really gotten into the marketing field. So yeah, that's
it's really cool how it's evolved over time, especially since when I started, I feel like not that it's a different company. I mean, I think our values and what we do and what we're dedicated, like it's the same, but I think we've changed so much, and especially like the different clients that we're working on, and it's been a really great opportunity for everybody to learn about different aspects of marketing for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And I did want to say that Vera, like in terms of how it fits in with the content mix, I don't know if I made that connection super. Okay,
that was my next question. You hired the right guy for the podcast. Just how did the content mix, especially the podcast, how did that evolve through Vera Content?
Yeah. Okay. So basically, like I said, the group existed even before the company, but they were like simultaneously coexisting. And I just, obviously there was a lot of, whoa.
Sorry.
There's some construction happening over there.
There's some construction, I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's faint. But anyways, no, so like the content mix. Okay, so like there were synergies between Vera Content and the content mix, clearly, and basically I decided like to put some of the resources behind Vera Content into growing the content mix community. So that was like 2 years ago when we launched the content mix blog, and started like I mean before that there was no blog or website or anything. So the content mix blog is on Vera Content's website, and it's all resources to serve the content creation and marketing community in Europe. And then we started the podcast just last year, and that was our kind of response to not being able to do events. Yeah, so we couldn't do in-person events. We switched to like the virtual networking events, and then also looked at other ways we can connect with people online. So that's when we started the podcast and doing the interview series.
Yeah, that's kind of like our little project that came out of lockdown as well.
Definitely. Yeah, we were just like also project. Like we need to do something.
Do something, and we have a lot of time on our hands. And, be creative.
Yeah, that was like a creative period for sure.
For sure, and it's turned into something really awesome. So definitely, it's worth it for sure.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I think like I guess for you, what are some of the highlights from the podcast itself? You've done a lot of episodes, so I'm just joining now, but you've done a lot of the episodes that have been published. So I don't know if you have any highlights or some like things takeaways that you really have enjoyed from the experience.
I mean, it's just been like a really cool opportunity to like learn, like talk to so many people working in the industry and like learn from their perspectives. And also it's just been like awesome to hear people's like tips in terms of best practices and their recommendations. That's actually like my favorite part, I think, of the interview is when people recommend resources and books and things like that, because that's like it fills up my list.
Add to your book list right away.
Definitely. Yeah. What about you? You've recorded a few interviews recently. How they've been going so far? Like pre-recorded, they haven't been published yet.
Yeah, they're not published yet. But yeah, I was going to say one of the things I like the most are the insights from the guests. I think especially talking to people that work in our field, it's been really nice to learn kind of how people do different things or how they approach different, problems or just the creative ideas they've shared with me, but also the recommendations. I think it's been I really like that part because I love like different kind of books and apps, and it's always cool to learn about different tools that could help me become more productive, but also knowing that at the end of the day, this is going to be published and a lot of people will have access to it as well. So it's kind of a really cool knowledge sharing experience. But also that the guests have been awesome. Like everyone's been so nice and so open and ready and excited to be on the podcast. And I think that makes my job a lot easier. So I'm definitely looking forward to continuing with it as we move forward. And I'm excited for my new episode to come out, my first episode to come out on Thursday.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, we're looking forward to seeing your debut.
Yes.
We'd love to hear from people like what's what you'd like to see more of on the podcast. If you have tuned into it, if you have any feedback on that, be great to hear. Also, just like any other aspects of what we do at the Content Mix, the blog, our newsletter, and this Facebook group. Just like what do you like, or what do you think we could do better? That would be great to know if you could put it in the comments.
So we already mentioned a bit about the recommendations that our guests share on the podcast. So I'm going to ask you now, Shaheen, what have been your favorite books or podcasts or apps or learning resources that you'd like to share with our audience today that you've like acquired during your time on the podcast?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many, like having recorded so many podcasts and had so many recommendations, I've definitely like followed a lot of those recommendations and would like endorse a lot of them. But if I have to just choose like a couple of things, I mean, and also that haven't been mentioned yet on the podcast. So I just finished reading a book called Never Split the Difference, which is on negotiation, and it's by Chris Voss, and definitely recommend that. It's like really about how, well, negotiation is all about like the people and like the relationships and building trust. But well, it goes into some really, really specific like tactics, I guess, for like getting what you want out of a negotiation. And a negotiation can mean anything in your life, right? So it's just like, I think a really useful book for like anybody, although it's really long and could probably be a little more concise. But you can also just skip to the chapter summaries if you want, which have the practical tips. And then, well, to give you something else, I'm also a really big fan of an app called Habit Share, which is just like a really simple habit app, which there's tons of those, which is just, tracking your daily habits, or you set it to whatever you want. But the thing I like about this app in particular is that it lets you, like, it has a social aspect to it. So you can have friends and that you share your habits with. You can control the privacy of your different habits, and you can have like accountability with others. So I find that really useful personally.
It's super helpful. Sometimes we need accountability for ourselves. So it's good to have an app. It's crazy what apps can do nowadays too. There's an app for everything, it seems like.
Absolutely. So, but what about you, Kyler? You have any recommendations for us?
Well, I think the book I read Atomic Habits by James Clear this past year, and I feel like a lot of people have read it. It's definitely not like a book that's gone under the radar. But I really, really liked it because it kind of breaks down the anatomy of a habit and kind of how habits are formed and how you have to start small in order for it to really have an impact on your life. I feel like a lot of times we're told you need to have a good routine and you need to do it this way and you need to eat healthy and all these different things, like these habits that we should have in our lives, but no one really tells us how to form them and how to get started with them. And a lot of times we give up on different habits that we want to pick up, kind of like New Year's resolutions always go bad. So I think it's always, I don't know, I really like the book because it breaks everything down and it kind of puts it in a way that it's understandable, and it seems every like habit you want to form is attainable in some way. So I really like that book. It was very motivating, especially after the pandemic, the lockdown at least, to get back into a good routine. And then I've also been listening to a podcast recently called The School of Greatness, which features inspiring interviews with people who are leaders in their industries, and it could be people who are like in fitness or entertainment or business. And I found it a really good way to just, again, it's kind of like our podcast in a way, but at a much bigger scale because they're looking at people from all different industries. But it's kind of a good way to have this knowledge sharing and people kind of give their tips and tricks on how to be more productive or how to, find motivation, stuff like that. So I really am enjoying that podcast recently.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely sounds like a cool one. I have to check it out. I'll remind people, if you want to ask us any questions or have any comments, put them in the comments. We'd love to hear your feedback on the Content Mix in general, what kinds of things you'd like to see, whether on the podcast, in the Facebook group, in our newsletter, or on the blog. But also, if you just have any questions, anything you'd like to know about me or Kyler, feel free to ask now. We just have like a few more minutes, so we can spend that last couple minutes answering questions. But it's your last chance for questions, so ask now or hold your peace. But yeah, let's see. We do have a couple questions from Daphne asking, what's the first city you plan on bringing the Content Mix events to? That's putting us on the spot.
Putting us on the spot. I think logistically, maybe Lisbon or Malaga, where we're both located. But who knows? It'd definitely just be exciting to bring it out of Madrid for the first time, so it doesn't really matter where. I think it'd just be a really exciting experience for anyone.
Yeah, we actually, before pre-pandemic, we had done some events in Barcelona also. So, and we have like an ambassador named Steve in Barcelona. So shout out to him. But yeah, it definitely has. We obviously need someone in the ground, on the ground, in the location where we do the event. So, so yeah, if anyone is in another European city and would like to host a future Facebook, sorry,
that'd be awesome.
I'm like, sorry,
okay.
if you're in another city, and we're not Facebook, we're the Content Mix.
We're using Facebook.
We are. Anyway,
it's 4:00 on a Tuesday. So
yeah,
our brains
and
don't
it's
work
really
all the time.
warm in Malaga. I'm getting a bit delirious. Yeah, so yeah, but if anyone is interested in being like a Content Mix ambassador, we'd be like super happy to discuss that with you. But yeah, like Kyler said, in the near term, Lisbon or Malaga, in
which are both great locations. So
they are with lots of international people as well.
For sure. So it'd be great to do it in one of those places.
Definitely. So, Daphne put a link also to the post about how the community started. So definitely check that out. And then, well, Mary asks about the favorite aspect of our roles. You have an answer for that, Kyler?
I do. I think one, as I mentioned in the beginning of the live stream, I have worked in many different positions in this company, kind of hopping around. But I think the one thing that's been constant is people. I think for me, I just love working with people and kind of helping people solve problems. So even if you think about like translation itself, when I was just purely doing translation and content creation, it's kind of you're helping people, especially people in marketing departments, really get their message across. So you're kind of like altruistically kind of helping someone along the way. And then as a project manager, I worked a lot with clients, so dealing a lot with different issues that they had or helping them kind of come up with new projects. And then also managing a team of linguists and other project managers was a great opportunity because I learned so much from the people that I was able to supervise. That for me was really rewarding. And then now my new role, I'm working with clients still as an account manager, but also now with the podcast, I get to meet all these people from the comfort of my home. So it's really exciting. I just love people. So I think that's kind of what is like the thread so far in my career. It's just a dedication to working with people.
Yeah, absolutely. Man, I want to copy you.
You can. It's fine.
No, because I was thinking kind of the same thing. Definitely like the relationship building and like getting to know people, networking. That's always been like a passion of mine back from my journalist days. But also I'm just like a really curious person too. And that I guess is kind of related to my back being a journalist. I used to work in newspapers. So doing interviews for the podcast mix, or even just like all the new things that I learn every day in my job in general is just like really motivates me.
Yeah,
and
you
also
definitely learn a lot.
Yeah, because things change all the time. We're a growing company, so we're always adapting and figuring new things out. And so it's a lot of fun. And
also,
obviously, the people we work with are
too. So like we kind of adapted the way we work as well as a reaction to like trends that are going on, especially like post lockdown stuff in terms of marketing. We've kind of seen a whole shift. So it's been really interesting.
Yeah, this year has been a big year past year and a half like have been a big year of problem solving, I think, for everyone. And I think we've been really lucky to like be in an industry that's adapted well to this whole situation and is able, to be done remotely. And in fact, there's even growth obviously in online marketing right now because other types of marketing being not so possible
as well.
So,
I also wanted to give there's someone joining us from County Cork in Ireland. And then some people in Madrid and Massachusetts. So just wanted to make sure everyone got their shout out. Thank you for tuning in.
Definitely. Hey everyone, and thank you for joining. Well, if anyone didn't say where you're joining from, feel free to add it. We'll shout out to you too. And we just have like a minute left. So I think we pretty much answered about what we learned from the podcast. And a tip we'd suggest to those who want to start a podcast.
I just started, organized. So but organization is key.
Yeah, definitely. I think like I mean, there's a few different aspects. We actually did an entire interview on this topic like recently with people from the Grow Getters podcast who are, really professional in their podcast and had really great tips. So definitely like check out that interview if you'd like to learn more about podcasting. But yeah, for me, I think like consistency is probably like my biggest tip. Like choose a schedule that is sustainable for you and like stick to it and set all your pieces in place to make sure you can get it done every single week or day or whatever month, whatever you commit to, like stick to that.
For sure. I think for me, I think a lot of times now and I've only been on the podcast for a bit, but obviously since I work at Vera Content and I've had a lot of contact with the people who've been working on the podcast, I think in the world of podcasts now, there's so many different types of podcasts. And then I think sometimes people lose sight of like what the initial purpose of it was. And I think it's so important. I think we've done a pretty good job of that, but like kind of sticking to like what you want to get out of the podcast and not kind of getting pressured to kind of, I don't know, overwork it or take it in too many directions. So then it gets like your vision, I guess, gets a bit blurry. So I think it's really important to stick to what you want to do and kind of stay true to what the values of the podcast are.
Yeah, like stick to the like purpose of the podcast and give people what they came for in the first place.
Don't get too crazy. Just let it grow organically over time.
Yeah, awesome. So, well, I think it's time to wrap up this live event. So thank you to everybody who participated. It was great to hear from you and get a little bit of feedback about the community, although I'd love to hear more feedback. We didn't get that much feedback. Definitely. So feel free to like comment on this, even if you are watching the replay. It would be great to hear people's ideas. And maybe we'll post something separately in the group just to like ask about feedback. And then of course, because we're always working to like make the community more valuable for all of you. So we'd love to hear your ideas. And then also check out veracontent.com/mix. I have to say that. That's our blog. Yeah, that's our blog. And also you can subscribe to the podcast there and find out there's links to everything else, obviously, like the newsletter and all our events and everything there. So definitely go. That's our hub of information, veracontent.com/mix.
For sure. And speaking of events, tomorrow we have our virtual speed networking event at 5 p.m. And you can find more info on that on our Facebook page, Facebook group, LinkedIn. There's a lot of information out there about the event. So we hope that you guys can join us.
Absolutely. So thanks, Kyler. I'm really looking forward to working together on the podcast and in the community.
Yes. No, thank you, Shaheen. And thanks everyone for tuning in. We'll see you all very soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.